The Vegan Stew. My name is Kelly. I'm with Climate Healers and the Veganabler. I'm one of the stew crew. And today we're going to have a pretty small team. We have Helene out and a few others. So I am going to bring in Marla from Vegan Street and now she's off in the raw. And I just first off want to thank all of our sponsors for helping support this show. You can see them at the bottom. There's, I don't have the list, but all of them are at the bottom. And yeah, so it's going to be a small crew today, but our topic today is cross-contamination in food, and I guess how we feel about it, how we handle it. Yeah, so Marla, did you want to start off with the news before we jump into our main topic?
Yeah, for sure. I thought there were a couple of interesting news stories this week. The first one is that Aramark, which is, if not the largest, one of the largest food service providers to like institutional, like businesses and stuff like that. Anyway, in order to reach their goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 25% by 2030. There's a lot of numbers there, but it continues with numbers. They are going to be increasing their plant-based options at 250 colleges in the United States by 45% by the year 2025. So that's almost half. I'm no mathematician, but I know that. So this is an example of a company that's actually, set goals and is going about achieving them. And, let's face it, there is a high demand. Yes, I agree. That is amazing. There is a high demand for vegan / plant-based food among college students. So they're probably also reading some of that demand, reading the writing on the wall. So that's really, really good news. I mean, like, I don't know about you guys, but when I was in college as a vegetarian before I was vegan, it was, we got the salad bar and that was basically it. How about you guys? What was, what do you guys think about that news item?
Well, my son's in university and we had the option of buying the like a prepaid food, all you can eat sort of thing for the year.
Right. A meal plan kind of thing.
When we researched like what vegan food was there, it seemed like it was okay and they kind of promised it, but then when we researched it to see if people were like, nah, it's not very good, so we opted not to opt to cook in his residence himself so he can handle his own waste and everything and take ownership.
That one thing that makes me a little bit like uncertain is that a lot of corporations are migrating to the word plant-based when they just mean primarily plants, and so that could be vegetarian or it could even be with animal like it could be with meat. So I'm not 100% sure ever what that means these days because there is no actual legal definition, so it makes me a little bit cautious, but I am glad more plants, fewer animals. That's a good thing. Now, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's a good start.
Yeah.
When I was going to college, I mean, I had to go to like Whole Foods and things like that. Like they didn't have anything available except just your standard salad. So it was like you had to go out. And while it is good that they're introducing those, I agree that they have to place and make that clearer, the difference between plant-based and vegan, because it's good. You kind of start out plant-based anyway, and then you migrate towards, for those who are maybe not able to go all in first in terms of being vegan, they baby steps, which is always good. But, you know, it is more like vegetarian. That, you know, the the difference between plant-based and veganism, and I know that we talked about it before, is like you have to make that clear. Again, really understanding that plant-based is more of the healthier lifestyle of eating, where veganism is not. It's beyond that.
Right.
And it's I would say it's a good start. It's a good introduction,
Yeah.
and at least if we're getting them to take in more plants, take in more options, normally, depending on the person, it'll lead to full-on veganism.
Yeah.
So it's like a win. It's a start.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's kind of like crowding animals off the plate slowly but surely. But I think that the one of the complications is there used to be, I don't know, not that long ago, maybe a couple of years ago, the debate between vegan and plant-based meant whether you were doing it for the ethics or doing it for the health. Now, this doesn't mean vegan anymore because the corporations got their hands on it. So it does get, that's a layer of complication that we didn't have. But, you know, again, if they are slowly but surely kind of prioritizing plant foods rather than animal-based foods, that's a good thing. It's just, it's kind of like, I'm a little skeptical, just because I feel like the animals are always getting burned, you know.
And it ties in really well with our topic, which is, you know, when you're doing plant-based and you don't really understand like the ethics around it, you know, and why we're so strict about certain things, you know, cross-contamination is really easy because if you don't know some ingredients that are animal-based, you know, you might not even, like, I've seen things that are labeled vegan and it has non-vegan ingredients. You know? Right. So, you know, if you don't really embrace the vegan, the word vegan and why we're vegan, you know, then there's always these risks. So,
right. Well, and I think that the one of the complications is the word vegan actually means something. As wary and nervous as companies may be about using it, it actually has parameters. It actually has meaning, even though some people may not, you know, may feel like that it's a flexible word. It really isn't. It means something. Whereas plant-based is just kind of like, I mean, really, it is a pretty loosey-goosey word, you know. So I understand. Yeah.
But
So.
you just actually spoke upon corporations. One brand in particular. And I will say it because it's important to know. Because I got tricked. And this is also when I was introducing my little ones to, you know, the solid foods like nuggets and things like that. Corn. Corn on the front of its packaging.
Yeah.
Okay? They just do say, oh, it's vegan and it's alternative. You have to flip it around. Because they'll just say it's made from mushrooms. I always read the label, and I'm really glad that I did because it does say egg. There's egg in it. So they need to not make it as a plant, you know, you can say it's plant-based with this, or it's vegetarian because that's technically what it would be. But not putting that in the front, and you're putting it
There's already a word
like
for it.
Gardein and everything else. Yeah. I mean, you're like completely, and sometimes we as vegans, we've been it for so long, we'll look and be like, oh yeah, you know, and we don't pay any mind, you know. So I know that people want to come in based on a trend and like, oh look, it's a new money, and the same thing with makeup, and we're gonna, you know, aside, but still the head of your company may be completely participating in animal cruelty and slaughter and cosmetic abuse of these poor little creatures. So, you know, you think you can, you know, make a buck off of us. And that's why I try really, really hard to support like small businesses, small companies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, like there was I don't remember what brand it was, but it was, I mean, all of these plant-based milks are all been bought out by big big dairy corporations, right? and I can't remember which brand it was, but like then it came out that there was like cross contamination with dairy in it. It's like, well,
Yeah.
how long was that going on before you realized it, and how long were we
Mhm.
consuming it, right? So, it's tough.
Mhm.
Like you said, you want to support companies. We want that path, you know. Um, but if they don't understand what vegan means, there's always
So
going to be
complicated though. Yeah.
opportunities for error, right? So I'm the same as you now. So I like to support small as much as possible as
Right.
well.
But one of the issues with small, and I'm the same way, I have a small business. I like to support small business. One of the issues with small businesses is that they rarely can afford dedicated equipment. So
Mm.
that's where you get these issues of cross contamination. Even the large companies, like the ones that do dairy and plant based,
Mm.
they don't necessarily just produce here and dairy over there. So it is definitely complicated. So I was wanting to bring up the second story, just because I think it's interesting, but then I think the topic just lends itself so much to that first story. So I should have done that second. But the second story is, not that long ago, California overwhelmingly voted to ban, I don't say pork, I say pig meat. I just try to differentiate, or not use euphemisms. Pig meat products that come from pregnant and nursing pigs that were raised in farrowing crates, which gives them very little room. Um, California only produces maybe 1% of the pork product in that the state consumes, but so they import from Supreme Court, of pig farmers in Iowa versus the state of California to try to determine if this is unfair to pig farmers, to have to abide by their new rules. So there's something like 65,000 pig farms in Iowa alone. Um, the the analogy that they said is like, what if the state of Texas decides that they don't want to abide by certain labor laws in California, so they ban this or that product from California? So anyway, right now it doesn't necessarily look like the justices are going to come to a decision, and it may go to a lower court to make that decision. But I thought it was an interesting case. What do you guys think?
So they are looking to ban it. They haven't banned it yet. Is that right?
Right.
Okay.
And
Well, I mean,
pork products in California that come from a farrowing conditions.
I hope they do. California is a pretty progressive state, so
Right. And
it'd be
so the
great, maybe.
farmers are right, the farmers are saying that is an unfair disadvantage against them, because the state is imposing, this set of criteria that, basically they're making it impossible for cruel farmers to continue doing what they do and sell in their labor area, in their area.
Good,
So, anyway.
good. I mean, sadly, we know the animals are just going to be sold to another country, but you know,
Mhm.
um, I hope California does take a lead in a semi-ethical stance here.
Right.
And
Semi.
that's all just to ban it all together, but um, yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, they still have banned it. It's just a matter of whether they're going to be sued by whether this lawsuit goes through or not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Farmers are desperate. I mean, we already know that. We already see that. Um, so they're going to do and try whatever they can to
Yeah.
continue. I mean, we see it even with the lawsuits that are happening with our in our vegan community, right? With Wayne, and there's one
Right.
um,
Mm,
in Canada here where they're
right.
actually in jail. They actually got sentenced and they have to go to jail, right? Two
Right.
completely opposite verdicts, right?
Mm,
Uh, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, they obviously are threatened. I mean,
right. And
by
there's also all the
media.
yeah, well, in the states that are trying to ban the usage of words, like
Yeah, yep,
describing butter or eggs or
everywhere. Yeah, the banning of words, egg gag laws, all of these, it's because they people are becoming more aware, so
right. And they're I mean, they could have written off everything from vegans like 20 years ago, but now it's a genuine threat for market share and that kind of thing. So,
definitely.
yeah.
Well, what lawsuits are happening?
Yeah.
What?
So,
I'm so
uh,
sorry.
so I'm not sure. I can't remember what state it was, but Wayne and I think his name was Brian. I'm sorry if I got the wrong name, but they rescued some pigs on a farm that they found that were horribly neglected. And they were charged by the farm for this. And the jury found them not guilty or, under some act of, basically like if you see an animal in distress, you're allowed to rescue them. So, it, you know,
Mhm.
it sets a precedence, which is great, right? On the flip
Yeah.
side here, it was a pig farm that they did. I don't know if their intention was no. I don't know if they actually did an open rescue, but they went in and they investigated. They did this. It was open. It was filmed in that,
Right.
and two activists. I think more than two was charged. I think one of them was dropped, but two of them just was found guilty and today got their sentencing of 3 days in jail and 12 months probation for essentially doing the same thing, like exposing the horrible
Mhm.
conditions on these farms. And the thing is
Right.
the person Amy Serrano who did it, like she went to the Humane Society thinking they would be on her side. Instead, from what I understand, they turned her in. This animal,
Oy.
and that's supposed to have the animal's interests, and you know they didn't give a shit.
Mm,
They sided with the farmers. So
it's awful.
yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that.
But,
Mhm.
I mean, we're going to continue doing this. So, like, whatever the verdict is, guilty or innocent, it doesn't matter. Like, we're going to continue
Mhm.
exposing this because the we have to. It's the right thing to do, and it's making a
Right.
difference. Because these
It is.
cases are being picked up by major news stations and watched and all over the world too. So you know,
Yeah,
it's a
absolutely.
small price to
Well,
pay.
it's like trying to stop a train that's in motion, and all they can do is try to put up their roadblocks, but it's not, all that can do is kind of postpone things a little bit.
Exactly,
You know?
exactly. So that kind of is a good like segue into our cross contamination. That's a hot topic amongst vegans of the may contain debate and what you do and all that. So I don't know how we want to start off
Right.
this conversation. I mean, I think there's a big difference between like
It's
versus like a intentional cross contamination. But
yeah.
there's all
Um,
I
Right.
mean, we have a May contains, and then obviously the debate that happened over COVID over the KFC and their plant meats that are cooked in the same fryer and whether we should eat it and all that. So we can cover all of that.
yes.
Where should we start?
Let's start with restaurants. Um, let's let's clear. Burger King. Um, Burger King didn't really state anything either. They were just saying, that they had Impossible Burger, which was fantastic. But either A, there was tiny, tiny print, or they need to let people know that, hey, just so you know, we cook this on the same area that we cook the regular burgers. If you're not saying that and letting people know just because you think, oh, look, again, corporate involvement, you have good intentions,
Right.
but you're not following through because people have gotten sick. Vegans have gotten sick because they've like, okay, great, I can go to this restaurant and order something for myself. And then
Right.
they're sick and they're wondering why, and it's because of cross-contamination. Same thing with French fries. We always assume French fries are safe when you're going to these places. I seriously had no idea that McDonald's fries are cooked in beef fat or lard.
Yeah, beef tallow, right?
And yeah, and I did not know. And normally, it'd be like, oh, I'm going to go there. And I found out, luckily, sooner than later
Yeah.
within my vegan journey. And I'm like, I would rather just go and even if it's get one or two potatoes and cut them myself and fry them
Yeah.
myself or bake them myself, okay? Because I know where they're coming from and what the process is. And it needs to be made clear. It really does. And it's sad because when people do get sick and they bring it to the attention, the first thing that they do when there's a lawsuit is, well, you should have read or you should have asked questions. No, you should have labeled it
Right.
properly. If you're
I
able to give a fantastic description of your food, you should be able to put down what it is cooked in,
sure.
if you have dietary changes or needs or concerns or what. That needs to be just like with KFC. It's like good intentions, but there seems to be
Right.
that main link that's missing because money is all that they really see. You're making
The ethical
modifications
part is
to,
missing.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I
It,
think my own feeling is frustration a lot of times. Like whether I personally care or not care about eating at KFC or Burger King or what. Like I like to cook. I don't have a, burning need to eat this stuff, but I want it there for people to be able to eat it as opposed to eating animals. What I feel frustrated about is I feel like there's a bunch of different things I'm frustrated about. Cheap out with their rollouts. They half-ass it. They don't fully communicate with all their franchisees or all their different locations or whatever. Like they may have a vegan burger that's not in a vegan bun. They may not be, even aware of whether it's cooked on a dedicated surface or not. They may not know. I feel like they have such deep pockets and so many resources. Just roll it out in a consistent, smart way. Don't like I don't know. Maybe they're speaking to most of their clients, their diners not really caring that much. I don't know, but I just feel like there's such an opportunity there for someone who wants to be a consultant to talk to these restaurants and say, this is, if you're gonna have a rollout. Don't say like, and that's another thing that frustrates me is when the vegan media just like goes, if I may swear. But I don't know if this is a vegan term, ape shit. Goes banana promoting, oh my God, Taco Bell now has this. Oh my God, Hardee's now has that. And it's at like 30 locations in Tennessee. And we're all supposed to be like jumping for joy and like they get so much of a media hit for it from us, from our own people for doing the barest of bare minimums. And that frustrates me. I feel like we are at a point with veganism being more understood and being more popular and stuff like that. We don't need to be like turning cartwheels for people doing the barest minimum of phoning it in, you know? And my main thing is stop cheaping out to the companies, have a valid rollout, And to the vegan media, stop like making such a big deal about like the fact that like some little, some giant corporation has a small rollout in a small window of time. Like, you know what I mean? I think we can all do better.
Yeah. Yeah, the vegan media pages and the outlets, when I just see it plastered, I'm just like, okay, uh, hooray. Like, you're not thinking about something that's unlimited. What I get excited about, it's like, in Europe, they're way ahead of the game, and it's not just a limited time, it's a
Right.
permanent. And I'm like, can I go over there? Can I go be over that way?
We
You
don't
know?
need these
And
little crumbs, right?
yeah. And I'm just like, I'm glad that it's coming here, but we're
Yeah,
so behind the eight ball here. And,
we know.
you know,
We need to do better.
gosh.
And like, I don't feel like I'm not going to spend my time, my very limited time and resources, embarrassed of minimums of phoning it in. Like Baby Bell selling a whole, they're now they've got their vegan, or sorry, the plant-based cheeses and stuff like that, which is awesome. That's something that we could celebrate. It's not going to go away. The idea of Arby's maybe having some like cheesy ass thing that you have to remove 20 items from before you like, I'm not going to be promoting that. I don't care, So I just kind of, I guess to each their own, but I do feel like it's me that is when vegans can do health, the nutrition of these items. It's like, I know if my life were on the line, my future babies could be spared being born into this misery. That's all that matters. I don't want people on the outside who are safe and free and all of that to be like, well, I don't know either. I don't know. Anyway, I'll hand it over to Kelly.
Well, I was gonna say what frustrates me is because like I do like to see this. Like I think it's good to show them encouragement, even though we know it's all about profit, right? Like we do want these options because we want people to start thinking about more plant-based options. But like you said, I've had so many experiences at A&W because A&W is one of the places where my mom like will consider eating plant-based, right? But like I've gone to some of them and have asked questions and the employees don't know the answers.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, do you have an ingredient list? They don't even know where their ingredients list are. Like they're around the restaurant looking, like it's not even easily accessible. It's not clear.
Right.
Some of them, they're like, they don't have, like, it's not even written on it, so like, like you said, the cross contamination, like with the fryers and all that, right? So it's tough because people are going to people who don't think about these things are going to think they're like it's vegan and this is and it's technically not. And then when you point it out, you kind of look at like a Debbie Downer. So it's this,
Yeah.
like, yay, but it's actually not. And like I even on like some of the local vegan groups that I'm in, people will write, I asked this particular restaurant and they said it's a different fryer, and then someone else be like, I asked and they said no. So
it's like location by location
that you're getting. So how do you,
That's so freaking lame. I can't even handle it.
So like you said, Marla, it's absolutely these, if you don't want to invest in separate fryers or whatever, and then, it's frustrating but fine, but make it very clear. And like you said, we need a vegan consultant there
that make sure it's not hard. Clear. I mean, it's very frustrating because it's such a simple problem to fix, especially because these are not like creative weird spaces where everyone goes. These are corporate nailed down spaces. Just get it right, stick to it, develop something perfect as is, doesn't beautiful rollout. Like the problem is when you're like half-assing it, it doesn't taste good. It's inconsistent. People don't trust it. And then they say, oh, there wasn't demand. Well, there's not demand because you fucked it up, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, or like it just kind of, you guys just, it triggered something, the whole Cracker Barrel thing. And is it possible that they're too scared? Because the very fact that people want to boycott because of one piece of, it's like, I think you're more scared of your consumer or your consumers that would be there for the business. You're too worried of offending those that are not open. Now, again, we're not forcing anything. This is not Mars Attacks Vegan Edition. This is just, we're not taking over your bodies. This is October, so this isn't Puppet Master,
You made me
the Body Snatchers. It's like it is not like that. It's like it's so touch and go. And then also, you guys both touched upon it too about it being where something will roll out that's vegan or plant-based or both, but it's different in every state.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Or even within a state.
Yeah. Like I don't understand if you're gonna have to, roll it out all the way through. I mean, just have it.
They know how to do systems. If there's anything that these big corporate food entities know how to do, they know how to do a system. That's like the whole thing, is that consistency. They know, like, why do they act like, oh, this is so weird? This is like they at the very least would have the ability to look at failed rollouts from other companies to say, this is what we need to do, And so it's irritating to me, like, and I like if something's not on the permanent menu and it's not rolled out across the country to like if it's a nationwide chain, I don't care. Like it's just not worth my time. I'm not promoting that. If you put in the effort, I will do something to help get the word out. Otherwise, nah. I just feel like we're being used, for because vegans, we will be the first to just we see when these new things get released. I'm scared for when Dunkin' Donuts puts out a vegan donut in the United States. I know in Europe it's all over but like when it happens here, people are gonna lose their shit. It will be so loud. But yeah, like we don't need another drink, we don't need another this. Put out a freaking donut and make it real and make it vegan. But vegans will be the first to sing it to the, like stand on our rooftops and sing it to the skies, if something new is out. But if you hurt us, we will drag you across the world. So maybe that's what people are scared of. I don't know.
Yeah, Robin Lee said like keeping kosher, and and it's the same as like the dairy, like all these, like, there are people who can't eat dairy, they're not vegan, but they can't have dairy. And, like they need to be very clear about all these. And I find like just saying, sort of the catch-all, like we can't guarantee is lazy. Like try.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just try.
Right. And we can tell, right? We're not that stupid.
Yeah.
Oh, they think we are. We're not.
We're not that like. We're not stupid at all, right? We're not like these hippies.
Yeah. I know, because
so I have a question. Right. I'm sorry, Kelly.
Oh, I was just gonna say for me, because before I was vegan, I don't want to say lactose intolerant. I was lactase persistent. In other words, I was normal, right? And it really affected me really, really bad. And so obviously it's not in my body anymore. And especially because I've been vegan over 8 years, completely
Right.
gone. So I know if something's been contaminated because I will react violently, like 10 times
Yeah.
more violent than I ever did, even like when I ate that, right? Because it's just not in my
Because
body
you've had
now.
so much time away. Right.
So, and
Mhm.
and I'm finding it happening more and more, which kind of has me scared, right? Like,
Mhm.
you know,
That's
whether they're
unfortunate.
being honest, in their packaging.
Right.
I have a way that I know if something is contaminated or cross-contaminated, and this is a parent thing, so
Mhm.
most people will get this. So I will know with my little ones if something's cross-contaminated because there's a lot of tooting that happens,
Yeah.
or gurgling of the belly.
Yep.
So I know that their expressions and
Yeah.
then the smell, and you're like, oh no
Are you
no,
okay?
yeah, yeah, I'm fine. That was my youngest. I'm sorry. Um, but that's like that just like it affects like our bodies and the way to know like okay something isn't wrong. And again, the labeling, that's how you know your body's reacting to it. You've been away from it for so long. Um, and then with them, if I notice anything, I'm like, well, if my stomach is feeling funny, then
Yeah.
I'll know by them. One of my little ones will come up to me and like hold their belly. The other one will just walk past with a Kindle and just
Yeah.
boop, boop, boop. Like, thanks for the serenade, but something
Oh,
is
yeah. No, I mean,
definitely up.
I think when we are away from it, we notice that difference right away because it's like a foreign substance,
Yeah,
right? Like it's like,
exactly.
what is the hell?
Exactly.
So I have a question for you guys. Do you feel like you have judgments about vegans who will eat in a non-dedicated fryer or eat from something like say like take out any kind of health issues. So like say, oh, I don't eat fried food, so I don't think about it. Yeah, I get that. But like putting that aside, what are your thoughts about those who will eat something that has come from the same fryer that is used for meat products?
I think it's your own
Yeah.
decision. I wouldn't say you're less vegan or anything like that, because again, like I do want this all to be I want vegan to be as accessible to everyone as possible, right? So I think that's the last
Yeah.
thing that we need to critique. I think there's more important things we could probably call out than that,
Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah.
that's definitely
Yeah, I'm definitely in your camp. I
me
don't
personally,
care.
it's
It's
not
not my
something that I'm
business.
gonna
Yeah.
get involved in, um
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Uh,
not
I,
my business
I,
to be policing that. Yes. No.
I'm so sorry, guys.
No, no.
Um, I don't have a problem with it. I'm like, okay, I completely agree. You know, you do you. There are more serious problems and issues in the world at that point in time. If someone who, you know, if you're like, oh hey, they're cooking on the same grill, so why don't you go ahead and put like a real one on there? Then we'll throw hands at your brain because I don't understand what you're doing, and that means you're completely not following or understanding what it means to be vegan. But like something I don't. There's just so many other things going on that I really that's not something that I'm gonna
Well,
I'm
all the trash
really
burning.
yeah
Yui!
yeah
especially like if there's people in a small town
Right.
where their
hmm
Not
only
everyone
option is an A
lives in
and
a
W, but they want to
hmm
be vegan, and like if you're vegan in a farmer's town, good on you. You're being
hmm
Yeah.
brave, right? I'm not going to be
yeah
like, well, you're not very vegan because you ate at an A and W that doesn't have a separate fryer, like
Well,
like
I'm not
that
into
is
that.
just. I don't think that
Mhm.
that's paints us in a very good light,
Yeah.
personally. Yeah.
I totally agree. I don't feel it's helpful. I don't feel it's anyone's business. And in fact, if we, the reason why this is even an issue of something to judge is the fact that, people are creating going to eventually have a ripple effect on the animals. The numbers aren't there yet, but that's the goal, right? Is that they're just not born into that horror.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't care. I couldn't care less. But if you go to a restaurant throughout your vegan evolution, from when you started to where you are now, do you ask for like a separate pan, for example, or grill or anything like that? What does that matter to you? But like not a chain.
I do.
You're, yeah.
I ask for separate, and sometimes I really have to look too at small restaurants or like ones where you actually go
Right.
to sit that aren't chain. They will make that accommodation for you. I feel
Right. They
comfortable
keep up.
asking. Yeah, but if I go to a place and I'd rather be like, you know what, I don't need for I don't need for the person to look at me and be upset because they feel like they have to do more work.
Right.
I don't need for anything to happen. I just like if I can go ahead and, just like you, Marla, I love to cook, so I'll just make it at home if that's the case. But if it's a restaurant and I'm going out for like a nice evening, they're way more accommodating. They really are. And
I
so
think
I
they
would
have
I
more wiggle room, right?
Yeah, yeah, they have more breathing room. They will ask you. They really. I haven't been to a restaurant like a seated restaurant where there's ever been an issue saying, letting them know
Right.
I am vegan. Could you please cook? They no problem, and that's fine. But you know, other than that, and you'll and the other thing that's really great is that places like Grubhub and DoorDash, like I love Nigerian food. I'm Nigerian after all, and unfortunately, I love my mom. But she'll be like, yeah, I'm gonna make one for him. Like, okay, great. Is it there? She's like, oh, I forgot to remove the stockfish or the goat. I'm like, yay. And she's like, oh, I have it, but there's butter. I'm like, that's not vegan, Mom. So she's just like, what do we give this creature? Just here's some plantains, which makes me happy. Oh my God.
My mom never figured it out. 20
Oh my
years. I'm like,
gosh.
Mom, get
Yeah.
it together, woman.
But she makes a vegan version of jollof rice because the kids,
Oh, yum.
also eat, not traditional food. But there's a restaurant that I actually discovered, and they make ugusi and fufu, and they make it without a lot of the things that are put in that are either fish based, salted fish or salted beef or goat. They actually make it separately from their batches. And I'm telling you, it makes me so happy because that is one of my favorite foods is fufu. It's one of my favorites. So to find this restaurant that actually literally has not only a vegan side option, but vegan actual menu of things that are completely without. My mom tried it yesterday and she was just like, I have to understand that this is vegan. I was like, Mom, go away. Try something new. It's fine. You'll be okay without the standard meats inside it. But she liked it. And there's so many more options.
Yeah.
And then there were when I became vegan, and yeah, that I mean, going into restaurants though, I always ask in that regard, and I'm really kind of they have no problem making that change. So that's really the only time where I
Yeah.
would do that.
I have to
Yeah.
say, yeah, even being vegan in the 90s and stuff, when it was so rare, I really never had that big of a problem just saying, okay, could I take the hummus from here and take the tortilla from there and make a wrap? You know what I mean? Like it was like, even if people didn't really get what,
Yeah,
it was
it
always,
wasn't too tough.
I just never really had that big of a deal, and I think part of it is just having some flexibility yourself where, and also maybe like a little understanding of how to create a menu item, where you could look at something and just say, okay, there's nothing marked as vegan here, but I could take this from here and this from there and make a meal. And we drove down Route 66 in 1996 or something like that as new vegans, and we were fine, which we were totally fine, never worry. And so when people complain today, I'm just kind of, and this is in rural, small ass towns, like, so it feels like sometimes we need to kind of step it up a little too, in terms of like just developing some confidence with talking about things and ability to look at a menu and kind of figure out this or that, resourcefulness, basically, you know.
It gets the restaurant to understand what vegan is as
Right.
well, other than, oh well, vegan means they don't like this or that, right? Like that, it's much more serious than that. Um,
Yeah.
because a lot of times, they might just be like, "Meh," they're just being whatever.
Yeah.
But when they
It's a want,
"Well,
not a
we're
need.
serious
Right.
about this," and
Yeah.
um,
Hmm.
I have only, I think, been to one non-vegan restaurant in I don't even know how many years, because my family's vegan, and so we are the majority. My mom left, so she knows if we go out, we're going to a vegan restaurant.
Yeah.
So I'm
Right.
fortunate that we don't have that. Uh, and I never really thought about it before, because like just on our own, we go to vegan restaurants. So for like the past 8 years, we've been going to vegan restaurants, with
Yeah.
a few very rare exceptions. So I didn't even think about, and I try to go to restaurants that are like very, very vegan friendly, so that I just maybe naively like think that
Yeah.
they're gonna cook it on a separate, uh, pan or whatever,
Mhm.
because they have such an extensive vegan menu. Like you could tell that they know what vegan means, and more likely,
Mhm.
our morals, like beyond just a food thing, like morals wise, that that they would do it. So but I have no
Yeah.
trouble speaking up if I
Yeah, I mean, I think we need
all
to be talking about it. Right. We've got to not be shy about it. I mean, just be friendly advocates, just using our voices. And, like a lot of us, myself included, I'm not like keen necessarily, especially in COVID times, of having like lots of face to face conversations with people. But I have found, messaging is a really good way to sort of get a sense of things, sending an email. I don't love face-to-face conversations. So, looking at a menu online first and then messaging if you have any questions. I think most places want to accommodate. They want your business. Very, very rarely have I had anyone who was so rude that, I was like, no, I don't trust you. But.
I actually had to. First of all, I was going to say hi, blind guy. Yeah, we have to educate restaurants because they really don't know. It's very true, but it's actually really hard as well, because like last restaurant I had trouble with was actually a vegetarian restaurant. Um,
Oh, really?
and it was vegetarian Chinese food, but the people who ran it were they there was an English problem.
Okay.
So when I'd been ordering it, and I've asked in the past, and they always said, "Oh yes, vegan," but every time I order, I make sure and I ask again.
Right.
And then this one time, I don't know if that they knew what I was asking. Like it was like this completely different experience, and they ended up, like, I think they went to maybe the chef, and they couldn't answer. They ended up calling their daughter or niece who spoke English, and I was talking to the niece through the restaurant phone and asking, and then I found, well, at least according to her, everything on that menu that I had been ordering for years because they said it was vegan was not.
What did it have
And
in
now I
it?
don't even know, because I've called again and they have told me it was vegan. So I just don't order from there anymore, because
Yeah.
I don't know the answer, right?
Oh no.
So like that's actually the probably the worst experience I've
Right.
had in any restaurant since being vegan. Mostly because
Right.
yeah, it was frustrating that I might have eaten there for years and actually not been eating vegan.
Right. Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
So again, like if you're, you should make that very clear, especially if you run a restaurant where there is a potential language barrier with your customers. You should get like a consultant in, or even someone from your family, whatever.
Yeah,
right?
it doesn't have to be complicated.
This is vegan, right? Because it was the meat that was in the veggie meat, right?
Well, if there is like if there's a language barrier, there could be like a menu that's coded with this, and then just draw out all the ingredients, write out all the ingredients, and that way the chef, yes, baby, who may have a little bit of a language barrier there, that way no one feels attacked or targeted or feels like, oh my gosh. So it will be easy to say, so at least the word vegan, when that pops up, maybe that they could refer to that, to help. As someone who, does have family members with, still really strong accents, we joke here because they can be watching a game and they'll be loud and passionate, and we're like, who did what to who now? Who's fighting? And that's not what's happening. It's just that it's like, and you're just like, okay, well, is everything okay? Are you just like basketball? The game is great. No one's going to war. Alrighty, well, we'll leave now. It's like there's so much in tonnage and there's so much with words that sometimes it can get misconstrued. So I think just like that type of sheet for reference, especially when you already go into these places and have where they already have their menus that are there on the counter.
Right.
They could do an easy one, which is even if they're like, okay, you can hand the menu over it by canceling or putting an X if need be. If you can't print it, this is the one that's not vegan. Just make an X and just, do half and half of the stack. So,
that's kind of why I like ordering online. Yeah. I like ordering food online sometimes because then in the order I could specify no fish sauce, no oyster sauce, vegan, like I'm always like doing that. And the other thing I was going to mention is like what you were speaking to now is that there are also cultural differences. There are that some may perceive it as rude if you're asking questions. You know what I mean? And also, I have found in Asian cuisines that they only consider the actual meat to be non-vegetarian. So if there's a broth or a sauce, like oyster sauce or fish sauce or something like that, it doesn't mean it's not vegetarian because there's no meat in it. You know what I mean? So a lot of times with menus, that's something that's complicated to maneuver around, especially on a menu that's otherwise very vegan friendly. It's just to try to determine, like, when you say this is in the vegetarian section, does that mean no oyster sauce, no fish sauce? So that can be a little complicated sometimes.
Well, you did definitely, because like even with my mom, there's that, just like you said, and she'll say, oh, there's no meat in it, so it's vegan. I'm like, okay. Well, they're technically it would be vegetarian. Let's look at the other ingredients, Mom. So it's like, I'll ask her. I'm like,
just like gravies and stuff.
Yes. And I'll ask her, is there butter? And she'll say, yes. I'm like, okay, that means that's dairy. That's animal byproduct. Is there milk? Yes. Okay, she's better though with milk because for herself, she drinks rice milk. So she knows that the kids drink oat milk, I drink oat milk, and the kids drink rice milk as well. She has switched to rice milk and almond milk. So she knows with that's what the kids consume. That's what, she would use for anything. But she sometimes forgets butter is still, unless I bring it, huge tubs of like Miyokos or Earthbound, and that's what she normally forgets is the byproduct, specifically butter. And I think so. There's that different. Even when she would take the kids out somewhere, she'd be like, "Oh, they had pancakes." I'm like, "Is there egg in the pancakes?"
God, pancakes! There's so much that could go wrong with a pancake.
Egg is the one that my mom always suggests is not vegan either. I'm
Yeah.
trying to get her to buy the vegan margarine, so it's always in her house now. But
Yeah.
she'll be like, "Oh no, you can eat this. It doesn't have milk in it." And I'm like, "Oh, there's an egg."
Yeah, yeah. And I will just say, because she'll look and she'll be like, "Oh, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and create the base to the pancake mix myself, and all you need to add is water and oil, because everything else is made.
I just
I made it for
send
you.
some
It doesn't
pancakes.
require any egg." Yeah.
That's rough. Yeah, that's rough. I mean, like it is kind of weird how like I know this was true with my mom. It's just like she got some things 100%, and other things for whatever reason it was a huge blind spot she could never get over. Like it's like like I mean, she never learned how to say the word vegan ever. It was every iteration of vegan
Yep.
that whole time, 20 years or whatever. Vegan, vegan. It's like, guys, you're doing
Vegan. That's vegan with spice. That's what it is. That's sassy vegan. Is a vegan.
I'm a spicy vegan.
My mother-in-law might be watching. If she is, I love you, but she says vegan, and we just stopped correcting her now because we talk and we say it, so we know she hears it, but it's just if it doesn't compute.
I know.
It's kind of adorable. And like even like with the parents that like with our moms that like they're trying really hard to get there.
Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
give my mother some credit because you know she they thought it was a phase with me,
Me
and now you know going 26 years and two
Yeah.
children that have been since 8 and 9 is not a phase.
Mm.
And so I will help her, be like, no, they don't get this, and then she'll do, she'll get. I mean, she'll get things that are more plant, definitely vegan options. Like, the kids don't eat a lot of processed, but if it's like they can have Gardein, here or there, or buying anything, and she understands it. Like she kills me because she loves and has to tell me that she did stuff with mushrooms to turn it into meatballs, and then she'll tell me the recipe like I've never done it before, but she's so excited. I'm like, yes, yes, see, exactly. But like, you know what? No, I'm not sorry. My mother-in-law was just, that's another thing that made me upset because you have to realize it's not that hard. And if you care about, little ones, you will take that time. I bought a cookbook that's strictly for vegan littles that has every single thing available. I bought it for her. She still was like, I don't know what to make. I said, okay, well, that's why I made all meals and bought everything, because I was like, it is not that hard,
I
so.
know. I would just stock my mom's freezer with things like that. That's grandma food, grandma house food. The stuff we don't normally eat here, but it's like it was such a big hurdle for her for some reason, and that's okay.
It was almost an insult, though,
White
too.
people.
It was almost an insult because, for those of us who are vegans, we it's expensive. The books are expensive. The food is expensive. But it's worth it for the kids.
Right.
And if I'm getting that for you, I'm getting it for you to be like to make it easier. Especially
Right.
if you're saying I don't know what to make. It's all
Yeah.
right there. Exactly. But if you're just gonna go, well, it's too difficult, or anything like that, I'm like, it's a smoothie.
Yeah.
It's
No,
for
and I think
you.
that's where the family dynamics come in with like passive aggression and like things that normally she might be fine with otherwise, but because you're the daughter-in-law or the daughter or whatever, there's all these and all these little digs, and I mean,
Yeah, it was bad. Like, she wouldn't eat anything vegan that I would prepare. She wouldn't. I would make.
I don't.
Yeah.
I will not name my person in case they come across this, but
I'm not.
I do have a family member who will not eat a thing in our house, and so whatever. To this person,
I'm like, more for us.
yeah,
Whatever, fine.
it's fine. More for us.
Yeah,
I think to them, it's tit for tat. Like, cause we don't eat non-vegan. We'll eat your vegan food. We don't care. But like, for whatever reason, it expresses the aggression, passive regression, whatever, manifests as that. You know, I refuse to eat your food. Fine, I don't care. I'm a good cook. I'm confident in myself.
Yeah. You don't want to eat it. Well, guess where my dish was featured? Okay, well, don't eat it then. My kids will.
Left up
I really don't care.
Exactly.
I'm like,
Yeah,
I will
I've
show
seen
you.
your food mouse, and anyone who doesn't want to eat that is missing out.
I think it's a matter too of respect.
Mhm.
Because if I'm gonna make something and you're visiting, I'm gonna definitely offer. But you know for a fact that I'm vegan. I don't hide it. You know,
Right.
we're vegan. The kids are vegan. You can say that, and it's the funny thing that you just said about dynamic with
Mhm.
my family, especially my my mom and like my uncles and like my aunts. They'll be like, "What is this? Is it vegan?" And then I'll turn around, it's gone. Well, y'all were just sitting there using money interest, but it's no longer there. I didn't bake it for you, okay? And then to the other one where they will actually get curious and they will eat a little bit here and there. They're like, "Oh, this is really good. I can appreciate that. I thank you just for trying
Yeah,
it." But
yeah,
to have it where I'm making it and I'm like, "I've made enough for you," and you're like, "No, thanks.
that's rude.
You'd
Yeah.
rather eat something that's processed
Mhm.
and something that's not healthy, and I'm not going to come at you. That's fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
Do you. But it's rude. And this
It is
was
rude.
for the entire length of my marriage. She would not. And I was like, you know what? Okay, just fine. Whatever. And don't ask
It's
because,
so childish in the
yeah.
worst. It's
And I was like,
you know.
"Mhm." And I'm like, all
I
right,
find
well,
it very.
the kids are fine. Like, I mean, they clean it every single time. There's not one they eat. You know, my mom is curious. She will eat. My siblings will fight each other to get to get to it
Right.
first. I'm like, y'all can cook. You're old enough. So,
Right, because a
yeah.
good cook is a good cook. That's the bottom.
Oh,
Like if you can get over whatever baggage and association, that a good cook's a good cook. So
yeah.
that's that.
Oh my God. It's just milk. It's just almond milk. You eat oatmeal. Oh yeah, it's from
Yeah.
that. The logic is not there. But you know, it's I think
No,
it's
a lot
that's an it's
different.
respect. And that's the other thing. It's respect within corporations for vegans. It's
Yeah.
respect within the family for vegans. I applaud people who want to try something new. I advocate for those who don't know how to approach
Right.
it. Start with a smoothie or a meatless Monday. Then check out more because there's way more resources. You know,
Right.
I really get angry and perturbed when you have people that will go ew to food that we love to eat. And then, like, for example, want to accommodate us and you
Yeah.
make us to bring our own, and then you want to eat and poo poo. But then when we have it there and it's a small amount
Mhm.
for just the two of us, or three of us, or four of us, you guys are putting your
Yeah.
forks in and crap. And I'm like, no, I will
Right.
give you the recipe
Right.
and you can make your own,
Definitely
but you will
something I
not.
learned. Yes,
Yeah.
with
I'm like,
mixed
no.
groups. No, we do not do family
Yes.
style with mixed groups. Families that, yeah, no,
Yeah.
everyone's plate is their own.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Our family just has like just a set sort of, you know, few dishes that I like because again, it's just like my mom now, right? Because my dad passed away a couple years ago, and so like we had Thanksgiving this weekend, and so I just made the things that I've made in the past that I know she's tried that she'll eat. And then she has two vegan meals that she knows how to make, which is a fried rice and a goulash made with Beyond Meat. So like she knows how to make
Fine.
those. So
Fine.
like a complete smorgasbord of the most random food. But at least like it was like I don't have to deal with any of that because
Right. No,
I
I
know
mean,
she's gonna eat it. I know there won't be a problem. I
it
mean,
makes
there's still the
her
backhanded comments. That's a
participating.
whole other thing, right? Because my mom actually met my daughter's boyfriend this weekend, right? And he's not vegan. My daughter's vegetarian, almost vegan, but he's not. And
Yeah.
she was like, "Are you vegan?" And he's like, "No, I'm not." And she's like, "Oh, you eat the real stuff." And I was just like,
Dude.
I didn't realize how much it pissed me off until today. I was doing the dishes. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, that was so rude," right? But you know, like you in the moment.
Moms, I tell ya, and we're all moms here.
We're having a vegan
Yeah.
meal. My mom cooked vegan. Like it's all that it can hope for at this time. You know, I don't
Yeah,
want to
of
go
course,
back.
yeah.
I want to move forward. I don't want to go back. Right. So if this is
No,
where we
yeah, yeah.
are, you know, yeah.
I just make
People
I like
peopling.
no no people I make the plates and then I wrap them and I'm like, Amma, here's yours. Kenna, here's yours. Here's mine. We're gonna eat. Oh, did you? No, no. You hands off. Put the fork down. I will bite your finger, and I'm not a cannibal. I need you to go away because you can't have any of this. I will bring a safe dish, like a dessert, that always goes quickly. And I'm like, okay, here you go, because
Yeah,
sweets equals just yum. Nobody's really thinking. And then they're always so shocked and they enjoy it. So I I
every time,
I
like
yeah, make that if you want to bring like to anything family wise, bring one thing that you know will go, just a basic dessert that will make like
right,
like cookie or pie, you know,
right.
things like that. I've learned the hard way not to make, not to replicate like the
Yeah,
desserts that I make on that I make for my site and bring them, because I went through all that work to make a very,
yeah,
very large tart and it's
yeah.
just like little slices here and there. I'm like, you know what? Okay, I'm just gonna get like a saucer, like the size of a saucer, and then that's the next dessert, and it's gone. I'm like, okay, good, good. That's the
Yeah,
size I will make.
that's what people
But you
want.
can't,
That's fine.
yeah, you
Right,
really can't, like you guys said with family gatherings. It's best to just bring your own, unless you have open-minded people there,
right, right.
because it does get insulting. Just like
I
Kelly, like
always try
that
to make
comment.
for, that's where omnis will be. I always try to make many times the amount that our family can eat. And if they eat it, great. If they don't, great. But I'm just going to try to make something that, you know, not going to use like meat substitutes and things where people are going to get all like weird about, I'm just going to make something that doesn't freak anyone out, which is not always easy. It's
No, not at all.
about that time, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to wrap
When
up? And do you remember what next week's topic is, Marla?
I don't, but people can follow us.
Yes, Helene will post it. I think she usually posts it the day after this. So next week's stew should be up on the Vegan Stew Facebook page tomorrow. So
We
you can
appreciate everyone who showed up and
yes.
did, and
Yes, thanks everyone so much for joining us. And I mean, we all have these these stories that we could go all night telling, right? But please
for
leave
sure.
comments watching this
Good thing there was a
after
small crowd of us
comments,
tonight.
and one of us will be sure to reply and get back to you.
Good
Good
night,
night,
everyone.
everyone.
Good night.
Thanks everyone for joining.
Yay.
So everyone, thanks so much again for joining us on the Vegan Stew. We'll be back again same time next week. And again, look for I don't remember what the topic is, but if you'll find it tomorrow on the Vegan Stew. Helene will post it, and Helene and Ellen should be back next week as well. So have a wonderful night, everyone. Take care.